The history of ancient Rome is a fascinating one, full of great emperors and even greater achievements. But there were also many terrible emperors who almost destroyed it all. From Caligula to Commodus, here are 11 of the darkest days of Rome. Welcome to my channel. Today we'll look at 11 emperors who almost destroyed Rome. Viewer discretion is advised for this video, as some of this video may be offensive or disturbing. We, the makers of this video, in no way support or condone the actions of the subjects featured. Number 11. Nero. Nero was arguably the most infamous emperor in Roman history. He was known for his cruelty, extravagance and insanity. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, was murdered by her own husband, the Emperor Claudius, so that Nero could take the throne. And from there, Nero would go on to murder anyone he saw as a threat to his power, including several members of his own family. In addition to his brutality, Nero was also an incompetent ruler. He squandered the Roman treasury, mismanaged the provinces, and started pointless wars. Perhaps his most infamous act was the destruction of Rome. In 64 AD, a fire broke out in the city, which burned for 6 days and destroyed much of the city. Nero blamed the Christians and persecuted them brutally. Although he did rebuild Rome, he made it much more expensive, and this led to revolts against him. So he killed even more people. Eventually, Nero's own mother turned against him, and he killed her as well. When it became clear that he had lost the support of the Praetorian Guard, Nero took his own life. Number 10. Caligula. Gaius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, more commonly known as Caligula, was the third emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. Caligula ascended to the throne at the age of 24, following the death of his great-uncle, Tiberius. Like Nero, Caligula wasted little time in purging those he saw as enemies. He executed several of his relatives, including his grandmother, Julia Maesa. He was also responsible for the deaths of many senators, whom he either executed or forced to commit suicide. Caligula was known for his debauchery. He chained women to chariots like horses and whipped them that they pulled him around. He chained chariots to chariots and whipped the drivers. He hosted feasts inviting 8 men of only one type, bald, short or fat. He chained 8 men to a chariot like horses and whipped them as they pulled him around. He delighted in throwing gold coins from a tower, enjoying the sight of common folk fighting over the riches. Caligula's excesses finally caught up with him when he was assassinated in 41 AD at the age of 28. 9. Elagabalus. Publius Helvius Pertinax, better known as Elagabalus, was the last emperor of the Julio-Claudian dynasty. He was born in 188 and became emperor in 218, succeeding his grandfather, the Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and taking the title of Caesar. Unfortunately, Elagabalus proved to be a cruel and ineffective ruler. He surrounded himself with a court of sycophants and ignored the needs of the empire. Instead, he spent his time hosting feasts and chariot races and prostituting himself in taverns and brothels. It didn't help that he was physically unattractive, being short, stocky and having a large hernia. He was constantly mocked by his counselors and courtiers, which made him even more irritable and violent. Eventually, his own grandmother, Julia Maesa, had him assassinated in 222. Number 8. Caracalla. Lucius Septimius Geta, better known as Caracalla, was the son and co-emperor of Septimius Severus. Unlike his father, Caracalla was not a military man, but rather a pleasure seeker. He hosted extravagant feasts and parties and prostituted himself in taverns and brothels. He was also a sadist who delighted in torturing animals. One day, he unleashed poisonous snakes into the audience at the Colosseum during the gladiatorial games and watched with amusement as the crowds panicked and fell victim to poisonous bites. Caracalla was also responsible for the deaths of many prominent senators, including his own grandmother, Julia Maesa. He was eventually killed by his own mother, Julia Maesa, in 217. Number 7. Commodus. Marcus Aurelius Commodus was the son and co-emperor of Marcus Aurelius. Commodus was a spoiled brat who threw tantrums whenever he didn't get his way. He demanded that people call him the eighth wonder of the world, and was obsessed with the chariot races. Commodus neglected his duties as emperor and left the government in the hands of his mother, Faustina the Younger. This proved to be a disaster as Faustina was corrupt and incompetent. She appointed unqualified people to influential positions and squandered the imperial fortune. Commodus was eventually killed by his own mother, Faustina the Younger, in 192. Number 6. Domitian. Titus Flavius Domitian was the last emperor of the Flavian dynasty. Domitian was a tyrant who ruled with an iron fist. He surrounded himself with informers and secret police who spied on the citizens of Rome and reported any suspicious activity. Domitian also built a vast network of torture chambers where he inflicted horrible punishments on his enemies. Despite his brutality, Domitian was also a great builder. He completed the construction of the Colosseum and the Domus Aurea, the Golden House. He also built roads, aqueducts and public buildings throughout the empire. Domitian was eventually killed by his own wife, Domitia Longina, in 96. Noah 5. Maximianus. Marcus Aurelius Valerius Maximianus was the second emperor of the Heraclea dynasty. He came to power in 285 during a time of crisis for the Roman Empire. The empire was being attacked from all sides by Germanic and Persian invaders. In addition, the economy was in sharp decline, and the legions were on the verge of mutiny. Maxentius rose to the challenge and proved to be a capable military leader. He defeated the invaders and restored order to the empire. However, he was also a tyrant who ruled with an iron fist. He persecuted Christians, Jews, and other minorities, and anyone who opposed him. He hosted lavish parties and banquets and chained chariots to chariots and whipped the drivers as they pulled him around. He chained 8 men to a chariot like horses and whipped them as they pulled him around. He delighted in throwing gold coins from a tower, enjoying the sight of common folk fighting over the riches. Eventually, Maxentius was killed in battle by the Emperor Constantine the Great in 312. Number 4. Heliogabalus. Publius Halvius Pertinax, better known as Heliogabalus, was the last emperor of the Severan dynasty. He was born in 201 and became emperor in 218, succeeding his grandfather, the Emperor Septimius Severus. Unfortunately, Heliogabalus proved to be a cruel and ineffective ruler. He surrounded himself with a court of sycophants and ignored the needs of the empire. Instead, he spent his time hosting feasts and chariot races and prostituting himself in taverns and brothels. It didn't help that he was physically unattractive, being short, stocky, and having a large hernia. He was constantly mocked by his counselors and courtiers, which made him even more irritable and violent. Eventually, his own grandmother, Julia Maesa, had him assassinated in 222. No, 3. Gordian III. Marcus Cassius Gorgianus, better known as Gordian III, was the first emperor of the Gordian dynasty. He was born in 234 and became emperor in 242, succeeding his grandmother, the Empress Maesa. Unfortunately, Gordian III proved to be a weak and ineffectual ruler. He suffered from epileptic seizures and was easily influenced by his advisors. While he was emperor, the Roman Empire was invaded by the Goths and the Persians. In addition, the economy collapsed and inflation skyrocketed. Gordian III died in 253, possibly from starvation, as he refused to eat anything unless it was brought to him or a golden dish. No. 2. Constantius II. Constantius II was the son of the Emperor Constantine the Great. Constantius II ruled over the eastern half of the Roman Empire, while his brother, Constans, ruled over the western half. Constantius II was a sickly child who suffered from severe migraines. He also had a stutter, which made him unpopular with the populace. Constantius II was also a religious fanatic who persecuted Christians. He built a massive prison for Christians, where he shackled them to chariots, like horses, and whipped them as they pulled him around. Constantius II was eventually killed in battle by his own brother, Constans, in 350. 1. Julian the Apostate. Julius Constantius, better known as Julian the Apostate, was the nephew of the Emperor Constantine the Great. Julian became emperor in 361 after the death of his uncle, Constantius II. Julian was an intelligent and charismatic leader who won the respect of his subjects. However, he was also a pagan who tried to revive the old Roman religion. Julian was responsible for the deaths of many Christians, including Bishop Basil of Ankara and Bishop Valens of Medar. He also persecuted Jews and Samaritans. Julian was eventually killed in battle against the Sasanian Persians in 363. Thank you for watching. Tell us your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and like the video. See you next time.